everyone. I would like to do the rest of Jim's tag today. I did the A to J tag and was tagged by Ross at Scully Handling about the books. And she did actually, in the next section of it, tag everyone who she'd already tagged in the A to J one. So I'm going to consider that, to include me. And the completist in me kind of wanted to do this, even though there are a few prompts where I didn't really have very exciting answers. So I apologize in advance, but I just need to finish it anyway. And I'll try to do the remaining 2 in one go, but we'll see if that actually happens. If not, I'm just going to split it up. So the tag was originally created by Jim at Jim's Books, Reading and Stuff. And yeah, like I said, Ross tagged me in the first one of them. So let's start with K then. That's what comes after J, isn't it? K. K is for King. What is your favorite book about royalty, fictional or real? So we're already starting on a downer. I feel like I don't actually read enough books about royalty to really have a good choice here, So I'm just gonna go with the very obvious answer of the Wolf Hall trilogy, which I I listened to it, or the audiobook, all 3 of them last year. And I have no clue what took me so long because, the hype is completely justified. It's absolutely brilliant. I loved all of it. I mean, clearly there were some lengths that I may have struggled with if I'd written a book, but generally, Hilary Mantel is freaking fantastic. I know obviously it's not predominantly about Henry VIII, but I mean, of course he plays a major role in it. But yeah, so that's my answer. L. L is for librarian. Who's your favorite librarian? Unfortunately, I don't know any librarians personally. Even in the libraries that I've obviously gone to in my life, I've never really met them in that sense. It's always sort of random different people, and I don't know. So I don't know any in person. But I thought, since we were talking about Terry Pratchett last time, let's go back to Terry Pratchett and go the orangutan librarian from Unseen University, because he's, hilarious. Also, he can access L space, and that seems like such a cool thing to be able to do. So it's that one. M. M is for magazine. Do you have any magazine subscriptions or a favorite magazine? So I used to have a subscription to some food magazines and also to a travel one, but I don't have it anymore. I just had at some point I had to come to the conclusion that this is taking up way too much valuable space, And then the other one, I used to subscribe to the New Yorker in print, but same again, it seemed like a bit of a waste of space on my shelves. So now I subscribe to that online, the digital subscription, that's it. And then the New York Times, I used to have the online subscription, but cancelled that last year, not without trouble. Let me tell you that if you subscribe to them, it's difficult to get out of it again. Anyway, so now only the New Yorker and only digital. N is for news. Where do you usually find your news? So it's a mix, mostly online, and some of it is on website, like news outlets like BBC, The Guardian. Then I also use Al Jazeera because I like to get some news from other corners of the world that may be underrepresented here and also in Anglophone media. And then for the German ones, I tend to just go with the German Tagesschau, which is sort of a major a major news outlet. And then some other sort of more local newspapers that I'm again also mainly just online. Then I do tend to sometimes look at Twitter as well for some very selective news, I guess. And I think that's it. That's about it. Oh, there's the cat again. He likes to show off his ears. Anyway, okay. O is for Shoot. I don't have a prompt for all, so you can make up your own. So my first thought was, of course, orangutans, because I just talked about them. And I wanted to show you a coffee table book that I have, a huge one. It was like a remnant of when I worked in a bookshop and had major discounts. But unfortunately, I realized when I looked there that I don't have it on my shelves because it's way too oversized to actually fit on there. So I must have put it in a box and I didn't actually bring it. So whatever. This is not really an answer to the prompt, I guess, but there you go. P is for penguin. Which is your favorite publisher? So I don't know. I don't think I have one. I've not really thought about publishers as much. I mean, I am doing now more than I used to, but not enough to really love one over the other. I think Penguin was probably the first one that I was aware of for some reason, even though obviously I read German books before that. But Penguin somehow became a fixture in my mind quite early on. And I would like to say that I really love their Penguin Classics Deluxe editions because they are absolutely beautiful if it wasn't for those stupid deckled edges. They annoy me. Like, I get their visual appeal, but they're not very handy to actually, turn the page. I don't know, it just annoys me. Sorry about that. Other than that, I very much like the vintage classics editions. I just think they're very aesthetically pleasing. And for a German one, again, not really the publisher, but I like one specific series that they make, which is Surkamp, and they make these really sort of minimalist editions of classics, I think. As you can see, it's just black, and then it has this lovely sort of foil for the title. It's embossed. Yeah, that's probably my favorite one for the German ones. Okay. Q is for queer. Who is your favorite LGBTQI plus author? Again, I've only started, I've not really paid attention to an author's sexuality really previously. I mean, since BookTube, I feel like I've, become more aware of that, but not enough to now, after 2 years of watching BookTube to be able to say, oh yeah, this is my favorite one. So the only one that I can think of off the top of my head that I actually read more than one thing by is Oscar Wilde. I know it's a very safe choice, but there you go. R is for Russia. Do you have a favorite novel, poem, or writer from Russian literature? I feel like I'm woefully underread when it comes to Russian literature. I've always wanted to get into it, but somehow I've never really done the work. I've only read Gogol's short story. What is it called in English? The Overcoat, which I thought was brilliant, but still didn't make me read another one. So I'm just gonna say Master and Margarita and be done with it. I know somebody, I think Ross mentioned that already, but at least that one I actually read and loved, so there you go. S is for science fiction. What is your favorite science fiction novel? And this will be a similar tone then. I haven't read enough sci-fi to really have, the favorite one or something. I'm not really qualified, but I'm trying to read more science fiction. And the last one that I have read and really, really liked was the Murderbot Diaries by Martha Wells. That was just really good fun. And yeah, some of the characters I really liked. Yeah. So T, I'm going to skip T because that's the one where you're supposed to invent one for T and I couldn't think of anything. U is for unicorn. What's your favorite mythical animal? So I don't think I've ever considered this before this question. And I feel like as a younger person, as a teenager, it would have probably been a griffin because I don't know why, but there were several different novels by different people that featured griffins really heavily at that time, and I really liked them. And now, maybe I'd say the Minotaur because just because I've spent extensive time on him recently. Sorry, my husband just came home, so I interrupted this for a second. Where were we? Minotaur, yes. Anyway, mine at all. I'm just gonna go with it. V is for Violet. What's your favorite Violet book? Now this sent me scrambling around my bookshelves, and I felt like I didn't actually have any Violet books. And the only one I could think of was the one that featured last time, which is sort of Violet, I would hope. But it's literally the only one I could think of. So this is the one then. And the don't need to talk about it again, I just talked about it. And then I did find that I've just received a new one, but obviously I haven't read it. But this was definitely one of those booktube induced buys, which is Jane Rawson's From the Wreck. But you know, this is also definitely valid, I would say. But remains to be seen if it turns into a favorite or not. Okay, W is for why. If you have a booktube channel, why did you start it? If you don't have a booktube channel, why don't you start one? Well, since I've just made a video about this, the booktube newbie tag, I don't know, I'm not going to go into detail. I love booktube, I've already been watching it for a long time, and I just really wanted to be, more actively engaged with the people that are on here, so that's my short answer. X is for Xenocide. What novel featuring a xenocide interested you, if any? So I wasn't sure with xenocide because I kept looking it up and was like, oh, it's about extraterrestrial species of some sort, and I wouldn't know any novels about that sort of thing. The only thing that comes close, but I guess that's probably more genocide, would be the last fantasy novel I read, which was The Burning God. Not specifically that one, but it's the trilogy, and in the trilogy they talk about, well, a whole sort of genus of people who have special abilities, who have all been killed in the past by people who were afraid of them. So maybe that would kind of qualify. Okay, Y is for YouTube. Apart from booktubers, what YouTube channels do you like to watch? Maximum of 3. So I've chosen 3 different ones. I don't watch as much more YouTube anymore in terms of, that isn't booktube, but there are 3 that I really like. So I do tend to follow quite a few cooking channels, predominantly vegan ones. And one of my favorite ones is Pick Up Limes. They are, I think, based in the Netherlands or something. And the lady who presents it is a nutritional scientist or a dietitian, can't remember, one of those. And they make really, really lovely produced videos where, there's lots of overhead shots and all that. And she has this really, really calming demeanor. And she doesn't, it's vegan food, but it's not, she doesn't tend to use that many weird out of this world ingredients where you have to, remortgage your house to get them. So that's quite nice. And the ones that I've tried so far were very good. So that one. Then the next one is something completely different. It's a guy called Thomas Heaton. He is from the north of England and he's a landscape photographer, and he does these great videos where he documents the process of him taking certain images. So there's usually some hiking involved, and him sometimes there's also one that he does where he basically shows all the downsides of being a landscape photographer, which I found very refreshing. And one of the funniest ones was last year in the first lockdown when he was not able to travel anywhere. He did, I think, 2 videos featuring him trying and mostly failing to do macro photography. And he just seems like just a likable guy, but B, he takes some stunning pictures, and it's really interesting to see, how he arrives at them, and he discusses them, what he likes about them, or how he decides how to frame pictures and stuff like that. So it's quite entertaining. And just to let you know, I do not take photographs. I just find it endlessly entertaining anyway. And then lastly, taking a page out of Steve Donohue's book, and I'm gonna recommend also something about animals, or an animal rescue thing, but not the dodo, the smaller one, which does only sort of save cats, which she'll probably hate, but they're called Flatbush Cats, and they are in New York, I think, and they make these amazing videos that sort of document, you know, them finding a cat in need and then taking them in, and you know, all the whole process of, you know, either they need medical attention, or maybe they need to, you know, they need to be, how do you say this, they need to get used to being around humans and stuff. They show the whole process up to the point where they get adopted, and also in their new home. And it's with this, you know, very calming music in the background. There's one guy who narrates it out of the from the off. It's just really, really well done, and it's very heartwarming to see, you know. So that's my 3. And then Z is for 0. What is your favorite book about nothing? And Jim has already mentioned Stoner, which is a shame because it's also my best pick, really. But there's one other thing, not a book, but a short story by Borges, which was called An Afternoon with Ramon Bonavena. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be in print in the English translation. I've actually looked it up and found some sort of A4 stapled sheets that you can buy on Abe Books for over $100, because apparently this translation has never been published anywhere. And apparently these sort of pages at some point were distributed, probably maybe as a, you know, how do you say this, like, you know, something that was just put into another book by Borges. I'm not sure. So I read it in German translation. But anyway, I'm going to link the Abe Books link down there if you would like to have a look. So what is it actually about? I mean, not quite nothing, but quite close to it. So it's about an interview with an author who came to fame by writing about the northwest corner of his desk in minuscule detail. He produced several volumes of tomes, and in this story world, he is incredibly famous for it, and people are, you know, love him for it. And his writing actually led to a new term being coined about this type of literature, which was then called descriptionism. So it's, you know, it's just funny. I don't know. It's just hilarious to read about it, and especially about this author who's incredibly pompous and, you know, full of himself for writing about, well, nothing really. Apparently, he took 29 pages for his pencil. So yeah, that's my next best pick after Stoner. All right, I think I got this in under 20 minutes, I think. I don't know, because I had to stop. So I think that I'm going to count that as a success. And I hope you guys are having a lovely, lovely day. And I'm not going to tag anyone because this seems like too long of a tag to tag people. But if you feel like doing it, obviously feel free, or do you know, a section of it. And yeah, I will link to the original down below, and hope to speak to you in the comments. Bye bye.